I'm Jason, UFC, and today we have a story about UFC middleweight contender Robert Whittaker assesses Khamzat Chimaev chances against UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland. The UFC middleweight division has a new figure in title contendership. Khamzat Chimaev is ranked number 9. His name is Khamzat Chimaev. Having previously risen the ranks at welterweight, Khamzat Chimaev returned to the UFC middleweight division last weekend at UFC 294, where he faced Kamal Usman. While Kamal Usman was hoping to secure a quick shot at two-division success against former opponent Sean Strickland, Kamal Usman ultimately fell short of the opportunity with a majority decision loss. Across 3 rounds, Khamzat Chimaev outpointed Kamal Usman on 2 out of 3 scorecards, paving the way for a majority decision victory, and with the bout being labeled a, quote, title eliminator beforehand by UFC CEO Dana White, Chimaev is now turning his attention on the UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland. Following Sean Strickland's upset title win over Israel Adesanya last month in Sydney, Australia, plenty pointed to Chimaev as the fighter who could bring the often controversial American reign to a quick end. But in the aftermath of a very close majority decision, not a unanimous decision, majority decision, competitive display against Kamal Usman, some had a rethink about how Khamzat Chimaev would fare against Sean Strickland. And among those predicting a difficult night for Chimaev is the division's former champion and current number 3 ranked contender Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker envisions Sean Strickland giving Chimaev a, quote, hard fight. Okay, let's just get into it, right? This article is taking forever. This is what Robert Whittaker said. Kamal Usman's a tough fight, and he beat him. I guess he's saying Chimaev beat him. How Chimaev will go against other middleweights, it's hard to say. Style makes fights, but Chimaev's going to be fighting Sean Strickland. And Sean Strickland got some pretty good takedown defense, not to mention Sean Strickland's an awkward guy to stand with, just the way he throws. I can see Sean Strickland giving Khamzat Chimaev a hard fight. I think it's going to be a hard fight. I don't think Chimaev's going to run through Sean Strickland. Over 5 rounds, Sean Strickland very energy efficient. He almost gets faster during the rounds. I think Chimaev's going to have a really hard test, a really hard fight on his hand, because if anyone's going to last the round, it's going to be Sean Strickland. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's the entire article. Yeah, I thought Robert, I mean, this is obviously the in full interview, so I wonder what Robert Whittaker's opinion was of Chimaev's victory over Kamal Usman. You know, Sean Strickland came out basically right after the fight, and he said that Chimaev didn't deserve the title shot. And even before the fight, he was saying, Sean Strickland was saying that, you know, unless Chimaev runs through Kamal Usman, he really doesn't deserve the title shot. Chimaev has finally been ranked in the UFC middleweight division, but when he was ranked, you know, the UFC officials or the media or someone, whoever, the UFC rankings have Chimaev ranked number 9, right? Like, he's not even a top 5 fighter. And obviously fighting a welterweight, you know, it's probably going to be difficult to be ranked pretty high in the UFC middleweight division. But how is the UFC going to justify giving Khamzat Chimaev a title shot after getting a majority decision victory over a welterweight, right? Robert Whittaker, who this story is about, he was the number 1 contender, and he lost to Dricus du Plessis. Dricus du Plessis didn't get a split decision. Dricus du Plessis didn't get a majority decision. Dricus du Plessis didn't even get a unanimous dominant decision. Dricus du Plessis finished Robert Whittaker in the 2nd round. Robert Whittaker was the #1 ranked contender in the middleweight division, and Dricus du Plessis ran through him, right? And in that term, and it hurts me to say because I'm a Robert Whittaker fan. But how can the UFC justify not giving Dricus du Plessis a title shot? I know there's going to be the MMA hardcore fans that say, well, Dricus du Plessis turned down the fight versus Israel. He didn't turn down a fight. He was injured. It was 2 months after he fought Robert Whittaker. The UFC wanted him to fly to Australia, right? I mean, come on, right? Keep that same energy with Khamzat Chimaev. Let's book Sean Strickland right now, right, for January or February. And will Chimaev be able to make that date? Probably not, right? Because he was coming out after the fight. He said something about he broke his hand. He hurt his hand. You know, Chimaev hasn't been the most active fighter after that first year of, coming back after like 14 days or something like that, right? Last year he fought twice. This year he fought once, right? So Chimaev has not been the most active fighter. I don't see him fighting before what? March of next year, right? I'm pretty sure Sean Strickland is going to be ready before then. And if Chimaev broke his hand, he may be out into April, maybe even May, right, of next year, right? So Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, both of them still don't have opponents. There's no reason to not make that fight. There's no reason to say, like, well, we're going to wait for Khamzat Chimaev, but for Dricus du Plessis, we're not going to wait for him. And he's shame on him for turning down a fight after, 2 months after he just defeated the #1 contender. But Khamzat Chimaev, well, we can wait. We could give him 6-7 months to recover. I don't. How does that make any sense? Everyone bashing Dricus du Plessis, and I mean everyone. Keep the same energy with Khamzat. If that's the standard, right? If that's the standard, well, you can't turn down championship fights, right? Even after you have a fight and the fight is 2 months later, book Sean Strickland right now for February or January, which is about 2 months, even more time than Dricus du Plessis had. Book Sean Strickland right now for January or February, right? And I still, even if he was booked, I still don't think Chimaev deserves a title shot, being ranked #9, coming off of a majority decision victory over a welterweight. But, give the fight to Dricus du Plessis. There's no controversial here. Israel Adesanya is taking an extended break. Khamzat Chimaev probably has a broken hand, not the most active fighter. He's only fought once this year, right? So just make the fight versus Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. And then the winner of them, if you still want to have that argument, the winner of that could fight Chimaev. Everyone will be happy. What's the big deal? I know Chimaev and Sean Strickland have trained together a little bit, so there's some history there. But you know what? I don't think the casual or even the hardcore MMA fan cares if it's Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis, Chimaev versus Israel Adesanya, Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. It just doesn't matter, right? It really doesn't matter. But let me know your opinion of this story. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about UFC middleweight contender Robert Whittaker assesses Khamzat Chimaev chances against UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.